I never thought I'd be the kind of wife to keep secrets from my husband, Alex. For 10 years, we've shared everything, but now I'm hiding something. It started when Alex suggested we try something new to spice up our marriage. Over dinner, he casually mentioned couple swapping. I laughed, thinking he was joking. But Alex was serious. He said it was just a game, all about trust and honesty. We set rules. We'd only do it if we both agreed, and it would be a one-time thing. Our first few experiences were exciting. They brought a new spark to our relationship. But everything changed the night we met Emily and Ryan. Ryan was tall and confident, with a presence that commanded attention. From the moment we met, I felt a strange tension around him. That night, the four of us met at their place. As the evening wore on, Alex and Emily disappeared, leaving Ryan and me alone. The silence was awkward, but Ryan's deep voice put me at ease. "You don't have to do this if you're uncomfortable," he said. But I was curious, and as the night unfolded, I discovered something unexpected. Ryan was different. His touch, his size, the way he made me feel, it was overwhelming. For the first time, I felt something I couldn't explain. It wasn't just physical. It was like Ryan unlocked a part of me I never knew existed. The next morning, I couldn't stop thinking about him. His presence lingered, intruding on my thoughts, even as I tried to focus on Alex. I told myself it was just a fleeting reaction, but as the days turned into weeks, I realized I was lying to myself. Ryan had left a mark on me, one I couldn't ignore. Alex didn't notice anything was wrong. To him, the experience was just another adventure. But for me, it was the beginning of a secret I'd carry alone. Looking back, I wish I had stopped then. I wish I had told Alex how I felt and worked through it together. But I didn't. Instead, I let curiosity take root, and soon, that curiosity would grow into something far more dangerous. Just before we continue, as you're enjoying this story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring you more latest, interesting, and captivating real-life infidelity stories. Turn on the notifications bell so you don't miss a single episode. Please pay attention. Let's dive deeper into this secret life I never imagined I did live. As time passed, my mind wandered back to Ryan. At first, I convinced myself it was harmless, just a fleeting memory. But the more I tried to shake it off, the more it lingered. I'd be doing chores or cooking dinner, and suddenly his face would pop into my head. I'd hear his voice, feel his touch, and my heart would racing like I was back in that room with him. Alex noticed the change in me, but thought it was a good thing. "You've been radiant lately," he said one morning over coffee. "You seem happier." I faked a smile. "Just feeling good, I guess." But deep down, I was torn. I loved Alex. He's my rock, my partner, my best friend. But something about Ryan had stirred up emotions I couldn't understand. It wasn't just physical. It was as though he'd tapped into a hidden part of me. One evening, while scrolling through my phone, I saw a message from an unknown number. "Hi, it's Ryan. Hope you don't mind me reaching out." My heart skipped a beat. I stared at the screen, torn between excitement and guilt. I knew I shouldn't respond, but my fingers had a mind of their own. "Hey, how did you get my number?" I typed, my hands shaking. "Emily had it from the group chat. I just wanted to check in, no pressure." I should have stopped there. I should have deleted the message and told Alex. But I didn't. Rather, I replied, and that single response set everything in motion. Over the next few days, Ryan and I exchanged messages. At first it was casual, jokes, light conversations, and small talk. But soon, the tone shifted. He asked how I'd been feeling since that night, and I couldn't lie. "I haven't stopped thinking about it," I admitted, my heart pounding. "Neither have I," he replied instantly. His words ignited the fire already burning inside me. I knew it was wrong. I knew we'd set rules to protect our marriage, but my longing for him outweighed my guilt. I told myself it was harmless, just a conversation. But deep down, I knew better. One afternoon, while Alex was at work, Ryan suggested we meet. "Just to talk," he said. "No pressure." I hesitated. Every instinct told me to say no, to end this before it went too far. But curiosity and desire won out. We met at a small cafe on the outskirts of town. Seeing him again sent a wave of emotions crashing over me. Excitement, nervousness, guilt. "Thanks for coming," he said, his smile disarming. We talked for hours, about everything and nothing. He had a way of making me feel seen, as though I were the only person in the world who mattered. When it was time to leave, he walked me to my car. I told myself this was it, just a meeting, nothing more. But as I turned to say goodbye, he stepped closer, his hand brushing mine. The tension between us was electric, and before I knew it, we were kissing. The guilt hit me like a tidal wave as I drove home. I told myself it was a one-time slip, a moment of weakness I'd never repeat. But deep down, I knew I was already in too deep. I told myself that kiss was the end of it, a mistake, a lapse in judgment, nothing more. But the truth gnawed at me, lingering in every quiet moment. Ryan didn't make it any easier. His messages came more frequently. Each one pulled me deeper into a web I was too weak to escape. He was charming, attentive, and persistent. I was reckless, and it started with excuses. Alex would leave for work, and I'd tell him I was going to the gym or running errands. Instead, I'd drive to meet Ryan. The first secret meeting wasn't planned, or so I told myself. Ryan texted me one morning, "I can't stop thinking about you. Can we meet? Just for a little while." My heart racing, I read his message. I wanted to say no. I needed to say no. But my fingers typed a different response. "Okay, where?" We met at a motel just outside of town, the kind of place no one would look twice at. As I parked, I hesitated. The weight of what I was about to do felt suffocating. But then I saw him standing by the door, and all my doubts melted away. "Hey," he said, his voice low and steady. The room was small and unremarkable, but the moment we stepped inside, the air changed. "I wasn't sure you'd come," Ryan said, his eyes searching mine. "I wasn't sure either," I admitted. He stepped closer, his hand brushing my cheek. "We don't have to do this if you don't want to." But I did. I wanted him more than I'd ever wanted anything, and as we came together, all my guilt and hesitation faded into the background. That first secret meeting was a whirlwind of emotions, passion, exhilaration, and a nagging sense of betrayal I tried to ignore. Ryan was everything I'd imagined and more, and for the first time in years, I felt truly alive. But as I drove home, reality crashed down on me. What had I done? How could I look Alex in the eye knowing I'd broken our trust? Alex greeted me with a kiss when I walked through the door, oblivious to the storm raging inside me. "How was your day?" he asked, his smile warm and genuine. "Good," I lied, my stomach churning. That night, as Alex slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling, replaying the day's events. I told myself it was a one-time thing, a mistake I'd never repeat. But deep down, I knew I was lying. Ryan was a drug, and I was already addicted. I wish I could tell you that was the last time, that I found the strength to pull away and focus on my marriage. Ryan had become my secret obsession, a thrilling escape from reality. Our connection went beyond physical attraction. He made me feel vibrant, noticed, and cherished in ways I'd long forgotten. Every whispered promise, every stolen glance, drew me deeper into his world. We'd meet in hidden corners, coffee shops, motels, and secluded park benches. I'd fabricate stories for Alex, feigning errands or social events. The deception gnawed at me, but losing Ryan was unthinkable. In a dimly lit motel room, Ryan whispered, "You're incredible." My heart swelled with pride and shame. "You bring that out in me," I replied. His kiss sent shivers down my spine. "I wish we could have more," he murmured, his words hanging like a challenge. But my dual life was starting to unravel. Alex sensed the change in me. "You seem distant lately," he said one evening, his eyes narrowing. "Is everything okay?" I forced a smile, avoiding his gaze. "Just preoccupied." Alex's skepticism was palpable, making me more cautious. I erased messages from Ryan, hiding our digital trail. Guilt consumed me, gnawing at my conscience. Every time Alex touched me, I felt like an imposter. Yet, I couldn't resist Ryan's pull. He'd become an all-consuming force, and I was powerless to stop. As I slipped out to meet Ryan, Alex called out, "Where are you headed?" His tone was casual, but his eyes pierced mine. "Just running errands," I said, manufacturing a smile. "Want to join me?" My heart skipped a beat. "No, just mundane tasks." Alex's gaze lingered before he nodded. "Be careful." As I stepped out the door, anxiety twisted my stomach into knots. Alex's suspicions were growing, and I knew it was only a matter of time before he started digging deeper, but the thought of giving up Ryan was unbearable. That evening, lying beside Alex in bed, I realized I was living on borrowed time. One misstep, one mistake, and everything I'd built with Alex would come crashing down. Yet, despite the risks, I couldn't stop myself. Ryan was a high I couldn't quit, and I was willing to risk it all to keep feeling alive. I hadn't been prepared for what happened that night. No matter how many times I tried to convince myself that I could stop, that I could pull back from this tangled mess of lies, there was always another excuse, another moment that would push me deeper into the chaos. I felt like I was trapped in a never-ending nightmare, but tonight felt different. Tonight I sensed something was off, like the weight of everything had finally caught up with me. Earlier, I'd met Ryan in secret, a desperate attempt to escape the suffocating guilt. As I pulled into the driveway, my phone buzzed with a text from Alex. "I'll be home late. Have a surprise for you." At first I thought nothing of it. Alex had been busy with work, so I assumed it was just another late-night task. But as I entered the house, something felt wrong. The lights were dim, and the house was quiet. Too quiet. I called out for Alex, but there was no answer. I headed toward the bedroom, thinking maybe he'd fallen asleep early or was planning his surprise. But when I opened the door, my breath caught in my throat. In the dim light, I saw Alex with Emily, Ryan's wife. My heart racing, I watched as they quickly pulled apart, their faces filled with shock and fear. "What is this?" I whispered, struggling to comprehend the scene before me. Alex stood up quickly, his face etched with guilt and regret. I didn't mean for you to find out this way." Emily hastily composed herself, standing up from the bed. "This wasn't how it was supposed to happen," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Tell me what's going on," I demanded, my voice rising in shock. Alex stepped toward me, his hands extended in a calming gesture. "I know this looks bad, but it's not what you think." "Not what I think," I laughed bitterly. "You're in here with her, Alex. How long has this been going on?" Emily's eyes locked onto mine, filled with remorse. "It's not just him," she admitted softly. "I've been seeing Ryan for months, too. And I know you've been seeing him as well." My world spun out of control. "What?" I stammered, the words barely escaping my lips. Emily continued, her voice laced with regret. "When we found out about you and Ryan, we didn't know what else to do. We've all been hiding things from each other for so long," Alex interjected, his voice urgent. "It started as a mistake, but then we got caught up in it. We didn't mean for things to get this far." The scene felt surreal, like I was trapped in a twisted soap opera. I couldn't process the revelation. "Have you been seeing Emily this entire time?" I asked, the betrayal searing my heart. Alex's face softened and he nodded. "I never meant for it to go this far, but once we got involved, we couldn't turn back." I stood frozen, unable to speak for what felt like an eternity. The silence between us was oppressive, heavy with unspoken emotions. Finally, I found my voice. "How could you, Alex?" I whispered, my words trembling with pain. "How could you do this to me?" "To us?" Alex's eyes filled with sorrow, and he took a step closer to me. "I don't have an excuse," he said, his voice cracking. "When we found out about you and Ryan, it felt like everything we'd been hiding from each other finally came to light. We were both wrong, both of us." Tears began to well up in my eyes as I processed the revelation. The shock, the confusion, the heartbreak, it all collided at once. The life I thought I had was a lie. I turned to Emily, the woman I had once viewed with suspicion and jealousy. "What about you?" I asked, my voice shaking. "How could you betray your own marriage like this?" Emily's eyes were filled with shame. "I didn't know how to deal with it either," she said. "I found comfort in the idea that I wasn't the only one feeling this way, but we're all tangled up in a mess now." I felt a mix of emotions, anger, sadness, and a hint of understanding. "We've all messed up," I said quietly, staring at the floor. "All of us. But this is not who we are. We need to figure this out. All of us." Alex nodded slowly, his voice tentative. "What do you want to do then? I don't want to lose you, but I know what I've done is unforgivable." Emily stepped toward me, her expression softening. "Maybe we can start over," she said. "Not just as couples, but as individuals. We've been living in denial for too long." I took a deep breath, my mind reeling with conflicting emotions. For the first time, I saw the bigger picture. We were all trapped in this web of lies, and if we ever wanted to find a way out, we had to be honest with ourselves, and with each other. "I don't know what's going to happen next," I said finally, my voice steady despite the tears threatening to fall. "But we have to try, at least. For ourselves, for our marriages." Alex reached for my hand, squeezing it gently. "We'll figure it out. Together." Emily nodded in agreement. "We have to, for the sake of our families." And so, despite the mess we'd created, there was a fragile understanding between us. We weren't sure how things would look going forward, but for the first time in a long time, we were being honest. And maybe, just maybe, that honesty would give us the chance to rebuild what we'd broken. It was messy, it was painful, but I had hope. For the first time in a long time, I had hope. In the days that followed, things didn't magically get better. But they didn't stay as bad as I thought they would. The air between us was thick with tension, but at least it was honest tension. For the first time in months, I could look at Alex and not feel the crushing guilt of my secret. He too seemed lighter somehow, though the weight of what we'd done still lingered in the background. We made a decision to step back from everything, to give ourselves space to think and figure out what we truly wanted. No more games, no more secrecy, no more lies. We had to find a way to rebuild trust, both in ourselves and in each other. Alex and I didn't dwell on Emily and Ryan's situation after that night. Instead, we shifted our focus to the unspoken understanding that we needed to work on our marriage. I'm not sure if it was the raw honesty that came with admitting everything or just sheer exhaustion from the lies, but we started opening up in ways we hadn't in years. We began attending therapy sessions, each one feeling like we were peeling back the layers of pain we'd built up over time. And slowly, we started to feel like we were on the same team again. Healing wasn't instantaneous, but I began to believe that maybe we could salvage something. As for Emily and Ryan, we all agreed it was best to take a break. For now, we needed to focus on ourselves, dealing with the wreckage we'd caused before considering any more complicated relationships. I won't say everything was perfect after that, or that doubts didn't creep in, but something was different this time. Something real. We'd all been through something unimaginable, and it changed us, whether we liked it or not. I started seeing Alex in a new light. It wasn't just about physical attraction. It was about rediscovering who we were before everything fell apart. It was about understanding each other's flaws and accepting them. It was about knowing that love wasn't just about the highs. It was about weathering the storms together. And maybe, just maybe, it was about learning to forgive, not just each other, but ourselves. The road ahead wasn't easy, but we were moving forward, one step at a time, together. And that was enough for me. As for Emily and Ryan, I didn't know what the future held. Maybe they'd find a way to make things work, or maybe their story was already over. But one thing was clear. The only thing we could control was ourselves and the direction we chose to take from here. Life had thrown us curveballs we never expected, but as I lay next to Alex, our hands intertwined, I knew we had a chance to make it work, because sometimes the hardest paths lead to the most meaningful destinations, and I was finally ready to walk that path with him.